Okay, so we're going to continue with the Work Together 6-2 on the same worksheet that we did Work Together 6-1 on. So you need to get that opened up. And if you look on page 168 in the textbook, it tells us that we have our adjustments. So our supplies on hand on April 30th were $75. So at the beginning of April, we had $228 in our supplies. At the end of April, we have $75 on hand. So you have to do the math to figure out what you've used. Because if you started with 228 and you have 75 left, you've used $153 worth of your supplies during the month of April. So that's what we have to pull out of there. So we're going to come to our supplies row here and come over to our adjustment columns, and we're going to credit supplies for the $153. Now that is our A. So in this little gray column here, you can click and type in A, and it'll come up. May not show for you if you don't widen until you widen it a little bit, then you can choose the A. Widen those columns just a little bit for that. And then I'm going to come down for the debit part of that planning of that adjustment, because the debit part of that is supplies expense. So I'm going to come down to supplies expense, come to my adjustment columns and put my 153 there in the debit and choose my A. And that's how you plan to do that adjustment. And then the second one says the value of prepaid insurance is $250. So we start with $375 at the beginning of April. Then we have $250 left at the end of April. So our adjustment is $125. So that's the big kicker with doing these, is that the amount that they give you in the textbook is not the amount of the adjustment. It's the balance of those accounts at the end of the month. So you have to do the math by taking what they have at the beginning of the month, subtract out what the balance at the end of the month is, what that they give you in the problem, to figure out the amount of your adjustment. So then the debit part of the prepaid insurance adjustment is insurance expense. So I come to the debit column on my adjustments, and I'm going to put the B there. And then again, like we did over here, we're going to add these up. So I'm going to click on cell F24, which is my total column there. And I'm going to sum, and I'm going to add those columns all together. Even though there's nothing up there, I'm going to go ahead and include them. And then I'm going to do the same thing here to make sure that those equal up and that we didn't type anything in incorrectly. And then just like we did here, I'm going to do that thick border. To show that we are doing a calculation there. And then I'm also going to do my double lines. Now, the only reason I couldn't do it the way that I did the last time was because of these two columns in there with my A's and B's next to them. Kind of messed us up on that. So those equal, and that's all you do to plan out your adjustments.